Hey, what's up everybody, Isaac here with another New World video, and today we are continuing our How to Tank series, and we are going to walk you through a Genesis M10, and the current mutation is a nature mutation. So I got on bright and early this morning, Tuesday morning at 5 o'clock to see what the new mutations were, and that's because I wanted to get a head start and jump on things, record a new video so I could do a voiceover and get this week's mutation videos out to you as soon as possible so you can make the most use out of them possible, so that way they're not towards the end of the week. That way you can pick up anything you would like to and start making use of them, start grinding your mutations, and hopefully you can be up to M10 by the end of this week. That would be awesome. Definitely big benefits to grind out the M10 runs. So let's jump into it. First things first, we are going to cover the gear. So, what do we got? This is what we have. We have 5 pieces of this same gear. Except we do have one piece that's gold, but we'll cover that piece. So, we got Nature Ward because we got the Nature Gem inside of our armor. Then we have Angry Earth Ward, Blight Resistance, and then we have straight Dexterity, so nothing special at all about this gear. It's just got simple Angry Earth Ward. The Blight Resistance is a big bonus, but it's not a performance enhancing thing such as cooldowns or stronger skills. It's just basic simple Simon gear. And 26 dex. So I prefer strength gear, but this is what I have. This is what I found. So this is what I leveled up, and it does the trick quite nicely at the end of the day. So 4 pieces of that, and I did end up getting, originally I had the purple ones, but I got a gold drop that has accelerated resolve, which is very nice to have actually. So we do actually have one very good piece of armor. The rest is just, it does the job. So accelerated resolve, very nice to have if you are running sword and shield. And then on our shield, we do have a Nature Shield Ward shield, which is huge. Only leveled up to 610, but it doesn't count into gear score, so it does the trick. It adds us a big chunk of Nature shield resistance, so good to go there. And I did buy a Nature Protection amulet, and I already used this on a different mutation, but it's already paying off because we're getting to use it on the next mutation. And then these are actually the pieces of jewelry I used, and for some reason I forgot to add the nature gems to them because I ran Lazarus this morning, and I think I could have used this teardrop instead, and it already had the nature gem in it, but at the end of the day I just forgot to switch them out, just to be straight up honest with you. But once we have the nature protection and the nature shield ward here, we're more than covered. So even with forgetting to put those 2 gems in there, we still have 55.9% nature damage resistance. And you can see we got that nice 12% ice damage resistance, which does us absolutely no good. So do you absolutely have to have the nature shield ward? No. Do you absolutely have to have the nature protection and your amulet? No. But they are 2 things that are going to help you out immensely as a tank. So the sooner you can, I would work towards getting those pieces, but they're not absolutely must-haves getting started out. And the weapons, we have our same sword we've been using all along, and our hatchet. It's not a great hatchet, but it does have hated. I don't run hated on most of my stuff just because I prefer other perks. It has Angry Earthbane. It's got Strength and Con, which is good. Keenly Fortified, not a crazy good perk, mainly just because it's got Angry Earthbane. That's the main reason that I'm running this. Have not gotten a better Angry Earth hatchet yet, so we make this one do. And the other thing that we are doing is at one point we are going to pull out this hammer. Don't have a good Angry Earth hammer leveled up, but at the end of the day when we do pull this out, we're mainly using it to CC the enemy, but since it does have Sunder and Shockwave, it is going to be beneficial. Thwarting strikes deals 12% additional damage while you have active grit, so that's going to help us do a little bit of extra damage. But When we do pull out our hammer, it is only at the tree, and it is simply just to CC the troops from reaching the tree. So only a very certain situation that we are pulling out the hammer, and other than that, it's just sword and shield and hatchet. So we're going to show you the two builds that were the 3 different weapon builds. We're just running full defender for this. We could use the leadership role that I used, that I told you about, that I really like, but honestly, defender side is a really good, really strong build. So kind of something that I recommend, something that's good for you to get started out with on tanking, but it definitely can be used at the highest of levels as well, and I have been proving that by running it in all of these videos. Perhaps I will switch back to the leadership role again to continue some of my videos, just to showcase running the leadership perk. But the other weapon we're using here, hatchet. So even though we don't have refreshing torrent, we did run raging torrent. I just didn't feel like switching things around. Once I do not have refreshing torrent, it would be very viable to take all of this, but then to take infected throw instead of raging torrent. So definitely would be a very good option to go with, but raging torrent is not bad to have either. So this build works perfectly fine. And then just lastly, to quickly go over a Warhammer build, I don't specifically set anything up necessarily has to be this way for running the Genesis, but I just want to have at least 2 knockdowns. So if I was running Shockwave, Wrecking Ball, and Path of Destiny, that would be good, because then I would have 3 interruptions. But it's not terrible to have Armor Breaker. Armor Breaker is going to add a rend when we go down to this node, so it's going to help myself and my teammates kill everything at the tree just a little bit faster by adding some extra rend. So the main thing is I want these 2 knockdowns, and other than that, nothing important at all. So what attributes are we going to be running? And a lot of times I have been going to 150 dex with this build, but I decided to just go all in strength. So this is the build I actually ended up using: 175 strength, 135 dex, 205 constitution. If we do go to 150 dex, we dodges cost 10 less stamina, which is a very nice perk to have. But since we are pulling out the hammer at one point, and we're going to try to use it to do a little bit of damage, obviously it's not still going to be the ultimate damage dealer, and the hatchet does scale a little bit better off of strength than dex, well, we're just opting to put all of our points into strength, and all of our armor already has dex, so that's why we already naturally just have 135 dex, just standard, because we have so much on our armor and all of that good stuff. So 175, 135, 205. So basically these numbers are not important. It's just that I'm getting to 205 constitution so that I have the 10% increase in physical and elemental armor. Honestly, if you're less experienced, you might want to go to 300 constitution just to play it safer. You be the tank, let your DPS do the DPSing, and that way you can pull out your hatchet and be a little bit more safer. But I'm experienced enough that at 205 constitution, 200 constitution, I'm feeling pretty safe to just hatchet away and be helping our team do lots of DPS along the way. So I guess that kind of covers the build. We'll show you the types of things we're running. We're running Infused Angry Earthboard Potion on our bar just in case we need it. I don't know if we ever ended up popping any on the run, but it's there if we get ourselves into a tough situation and we feel like we need to use it. So pop carrot cake, that's my good T5 food that I got, nice and cheap. Pop a powerful incense, and I don't think I had a powerful honing stone on me. They are pretty spendy. I'm not trying to tell you that you should be using them. I do like to use them, even though they're only like 1% increase in damage. Usually I pop them, I like my M10s, so I invest in them. But you're going to be just fine, especially as the tank, just running a strong honing stone or even a weak honing stone. Just make sure you have at least some type of honing stone on. You know, even if you don't want to invest a bunch of money into your honing stone, make sure you have at least the level 2 or 3 honing stones. So definitely don't need the powerful. And I think in this video I did have the strong honing stone pop. So carrot cake, strong honing stone because I didn't have any powerfuls on me at the time, powerful incense, and of course we're putting our infused angry earth coating onto both of our weapons. And the main weapon I'm using throughout is the hatchet. Sword and shield is there when we need to use it to block and we need it for that extra taunt. But the hatchet is the main tool for this dungeon for me. We're just hatcheting away. But one bonus is I did run a run after this, running just hatchet and great sword for tanking. So no sword and shield, and we got a nice M10 gold. So I think I will drop that video later as well as an alternative way to tank Genesis if you're getting bored of the sword and shield. Not going to tell you that it's the most optimal way, and depending on how strong your group is, it might not be a good idea to run it. But if you do have a very good strong group, it is viable to run great sword hatchet, and you can help your team out by adding some extra DPS that way. So it is important for Genesis that you have lots of good strong DPS, but if your team isn't quite strong enough, you might want to stick to the sword and shield for now without grabbing that great sword instead. But that'll be just a additional fun little video that I will drop. But first we are going to do the more serious one, and the one that's going to be more realistic for more people to run. Sword and shield and hatchet, then we pull out the hammer when we get to the tree. So that covers all the build. Let's get right into the run. And we are off. So first things first is first part, very basic. Just got my hatchet out. Gonna pop my berserk, get all of the mobs attracted to me. We're gonna beat up this hive, just AoE everything down. And immediately we're going to start throwing hatchets at this little archer over here. And right away we're going to have a DPS go and get the blight that opens the next door. That way he can get back to us and help us finish off this boss if needed, but he can also get his drop. So we're moving right along. We're not wasting any kind of time. And the soldier did end up getting pulled. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But it just seems of late, more often than not, he does get pulled. So, soldier does cause a lot of damage, so I kind of want to stick on him. But archer causes a lot of damage, so I kind of want to stick on him. But, so, at the end of the day, I just make sure I get a little bit of aggro on both. And then I go stack on the archer. We do get one guy knocked, but it's whatever. It's not a big deal. We're not worried about it. And our guy did end up pulling an archer, but at the end of the day, it's not worth him waiting too long, trying not to aggro this archer. So when you go down and pick up that piece of blight, there's a way that you can make sure you don't pull that archer by waiting and making sure he's facing away from you. But sometimes it takes a little bit of extra time, and since he took off right away, he can drag it back up to us while we are still DPSing the boss. And we take everything out. Our DPS can go and loot from the boss, and we're good to go. Move on to the nursery. This guy is going to be super basic for us. We just pull out our hatchet, and we're basically just going to hatchet away the whole time. We pop our taunt on him, make sure we got our aggro, and from there we're mostly just DPSing. We're going to use our rending throw as often as we can, as often as we remember to, and we're just going to keep hatcheting away. Spamming our abilities, checking our rending throw again. When we remember, we're going to use our raging torrent. Maybe we're going to use it. You'd think we would, but guess we weren't feeling it was necessary. But regardless, as long as you got a heal that you're sitting in, you're going to be pretty safe. As long as your death defy hasn't gone off yet, you're going to be safe. And typically if you're sitting in a heal and just pressing left click with your hatchet, you're gonna be just fine. So if you do get that point where your death defy goes off, yeah, sure, go ahead and slow it down a little bit. Maybe pull out your shield and block if you feel you need to, but for the most part, just pull out your hatchet, let your healer heal you up, and just help your teammates DPS away. So this next part, there's a reason that we are going to call the mobs up here and the archer up here. So somebody's going to try and get the aggro of both the little mobs and the archer. That way one of our DPS can go and start looting right away, because there is some loot you need on the left side. As you know, we have to grab all the resource nodes now. So we get the aggro on all the mobs, we call them up. That way our guy can go and start looting. He can grab the nodes on the left, then he can dodge around in the back and grab the nodes on the right. So we get a couple extra little mobs on us, but it's not worth really messing around too long. Here our healer is checking if we're going to get nodes, but he didn't realize that we already had it down and somebody was already picking up the nodes, so we are good to go. Healer jumped in on this run. He wasn't with us on the last run, so he didn't know how we were doing it, but really strong healer. We got a really strong team, really good DPS, so really important in the Genesis that you have strong DPS. Strong DPS are going to make or break your run. If you have really strong DPS, it can make this run feel like an absolute breeze, but without strong DPS, man, many teams fall apart pretty hard. They either fall apart on this tree or they fall apart on the Caretaker. But for this tree, we are going to switch to our hammer, mainly just for the CC. And as a tank, it's going to be our job to make sure that we are soloing the soldier. So we all kill this soldier first and then we plant the tree. Some people make the mistake of pulling the extra adds that are hiding inside the trees, but it's just wasted time. You don't need them, you get enough adds, and it's just a waste of time. So first things first, the first wave, one soldier is going to spawn on the right hand side of this tree. So we go somewhere that we can interrupt him with our shockwave. We make sure that we got his aggro. Check that out. Soldier was right here and he still knocked our teammate on the far side of the tree. Just ridiculous. There's no way that's even real. But
he's way over here.
Yeah, insanity. That's how nuts these soldiers are. They just don't even make sense. Clear like 10 meters away, he knocks one of our players with his little slam. But regardless, we finish it off and it is what it is. So, like I said, first soldier spawns on the right side of the tree. Second soldier, second wave spawns on the left side of the tree. So immediately you want to get to the left side of the tree and try and have your a knockdown available to interrupt him. So you can see here it works out nice. We actually stack up the soldier and the archer. It works out good for our team anytime we can do that, but that's not going to be for every team. So not every team is going to be able to survive by stacking the soldier and the archer and AoEing them down. So first soldier's on the right, first wave, second wave, the soldier's on the left, third wave, soldier's back on the right. So I ran over here to interrupt him, but I mistimed my knockdowns. I didn't have my shockwave. I wasted it on the soldier before. See, it does have rend on the shockwave, so I wasted on the soldier before thinking I'm going to use it, add rend to this guy, and help our teammates take him out. But that way I mistimed my abilities and I didn't have a knockdown for the soldier. Well, we still got him after he did some damage to the tree, but end of the day it worked out. So you can see this archer, he did take out 2 of our players. So that right there, that's the reason why it's a good idea for your DPS to go and kill the archer first. You can see they were focused on the soldier, which a lot of times, our teams are strong enough to still survive, even with that archer trying to pick people off in the back, but it just didn't work out that time. It did work out, we recovered, but we did end up with 2 players knocked. So, ideally, your DPS, they go and take out those archers right away, so you don't got situations like that where all of a sudden the soldier takes where all of a sudden the archer takes out 2 of your teammates. So ideally, it's your job as a tank to solo the soldier, just distract him while the rest of your team kills the archer. Then they can come and help you finish off the soldier. So At this point, ideally I would have my hatchet back on, but just the time it takes to cool down before it'll let you switch, you know, it's not worth waiting the time to come and fight this boss. We just run right over to him and start fighting him right away. Don't want to wait for the cooldown to switch my tools, so I just stick with the hammer. And at this point, this is where I'm going to switch back to my hatchet. As long as I switch back before I go in on the boss, we're okay. But typically this run, it's long enough that I can get switched over to my hatchet. And there we go, back set up with my hatchet and my sword. So just want to make sure I have my hatchet sword combo before I get to the boss. That's the important thing. Really like to be rocking my hatchet and my sword and shield when I get to the boss. Such a great combo, such an unbeatable combo. So, pretty basic, we just mow this guy down. One little tip is this archer, he's going to go and aggro anybody that goes and mines that node down there. So if you have somebody grab his aggro first, run up the stairs first and grab his aggro, and then the second guy goes mine the node, it'll save that archer chasing you down the steps. But that's alright. So we get to the Caretaker, and getting started, we're just going to be rocking our hatchet. So this first part of it, we just got our hatchet out. We're going to try and just DPS him as much as we can. And we're going to drop our taunt on him, you know, our AoE taunt from our hatchet. Even though he's still immune, it lets us apply our taunt. So we get him pre-taunted, and then we just DPS away. So once we got him taunted and, you know, we're DPSing like crazy, we're going to have his aggro. Nonetheless, we do switch to our sword and shield and give him that little shield bash just to re-taunt him. But at this point, just doing DPS, we are going to keep his aggro. That doesn't mean he's not going to do any attacks to any of your teammates, but there we go, we are already working on the first circle. So when you get here as a tank, what you want to do, immediately just start doing fully charged heavy attacks, one after the other. Just as soon as he goes to the middle, just start doing them. Don't worry about trying to time it for whenever you see his bar. Just start doing it and non-stop do it, and you will drain his stamina. No problem, no worries. So at this point, it's just my goal to stay alive. Try to keep this guy distracted so he doesn't attack your teammates outside of the ring. But I got my sword and shield out, so as long as you know, I feel safe, I'm going to keep my sword and shield out. I'm going to keep hitting him and blocking him, hitting him, blocking him, and at this point, as soon as the cage drops, there are times that you're going to have to go and aggro a bunch of mobs, a bunch of ads. So a lot of times it happens, but even with this team, a couple of runs I had to do that, but they really got it figured out and they mowed through those ads on the outside like crazy this run. So, but to be honest with you, most runs it's just normal, average, common that I have to go and tank the last set of mobs. So I have to tank the mobs and I have to take the boss. So it's kind of hilarious right here. Somebody got knocked and then teammate went for the revive and boss kind of ignored them. Then last second, soon as he got revived, he said, "Nah, you're dead." So just sometimes the way it is, nothing you can do about it. So at this point, we're just DPSing him. We're not even heavy attacking him. One thing about that is if you don't heavy attack him, you can actually get a little more DPS because it takes a little bit longer to drain his stamina bar when you light attacking him. So drag it out, just light attack him, but make sure you do drain his stamina bar. Especially since you have 4 people hitting on him, well, you're going to drain his stamina bar plenty fine, you know, even with just light attacks. I mean, typically, obviously, you usually would have 5 people, but we did lose 1 people. Got 1 knock, 1 thirst. Dang Caretaker. Kind of a meanie right there. Guy gets revived, and he immediately just thirsts him. So, This point, just waiting for the flame. Then we're going to open this veil, and we are going to call the boss out of this room. So what we want to do is we want to call the boss out of this room, and we want to call the boss out of the room behind us. So as soon as you light the torch, the guy in the room behind us he spawns in. So typically I would come and get aggro of this guy, then I'd go and get aggro of the other guy, but I kind of got caught up. I got trapped by a bunch of mobs. So at that point, my only goal was to stay alive. Even though originally my goal was to get the aggro out of both of these mini bosses, well, sometimes things change when you find yourself in a situation and you just gotta make sure you stay alive. So at this point, this little prowler boss, he decides he wants to run away, and he's trying to run into the room where we might pull extra mobs. But that's why I just sit back and throw my hatchets at him. So that throw-in hatchet ability, it does come in extremely handy. You can do ranged damage when you need to do ranged damage. So one little trick I will show you here. So in order to get our extra multiplier, we do have to go and get this extra named mob in this secret room. So one guy, he's gonna grab the torch. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start killing this one ad that's along the way, and then we're gonna go on to the secret room, and the guy with the torch, he's actually gonna drop it and help us DPS. The way I used to always do it is the guy with the torch is he would just hold the torch, and he would hold it the whole time until the end when we no longer needed it. But the way I do it now, and one of the guys on our team kind of taught me that, hey, this way is a little bit more efficient. We do have him drop the torch. We get to this room, he opens up the veil, and then he drops the torch and helps us DPS. But he already opened the 2 doors leading to the next room. So that's the important part. Obviously, make sure that he opens the other 2 doors before he drops the torch. Opens this door, then he drops the torch and helps us DPS. Then immediately one of our DPS after this room is going to go back and grab the torch again, while the rest of us 4, we're going to move forward and start clearing the way. So we don't have to wait for him because, well, the next doors were already opened ahead of time. So make sure you open those doors ahead of time, and then he can feel free to drop his torch and help DPS away here just to make this room go just a little bit faster. Then he can run back and get the torch, and the rest of us 4, we go ahead, we move along, and we start clearing the way. And we don't end up in a situation where we are waiting for the torch guy. The torch guy doesn't end up in a situation where he's waiting for us. It just ends up being super smooth and efficient way to run it. So one guy is going to run back and get the torch. The other 4, we are going to continue clearing the path. So one thing that's really interesting here is this soldier. It just seems like a 50-50 chance. Either he pulls or he doesn't. But it doesn't really seem to be a certain rhyme or reason as to why he does. It just feels like they give it a 50-50 chance. So we do manage to sneak by him without him pulling. You know, some people say that, oh, it's because you sheath your weapon or you don't sheath your weapon. Well, I did not sheath my weapon, and I did not pull him that time. But other times you will. Some people say, well, it's if you jump over the rope or not. But no, that's not it, because the guy with the flame, he can't jump over the rope. So sometimes he pulls, sometimes he doesn't. But we get to this point, and we are going to communicate with the guy with the flame and ask him, hey, make sure you let us know.
I'm clear.
And yeah, he's clear. He lets us know he's clear of the soldier. The soldier didn't aggro him. We don't have to go back and save him. So we can keep moving along and buzzing down these ads. So we don't have to go back and save him because he aggroed the soldier. So we're just going to kill these ads and move along. We're not waiting for him. He's not waiting for us. We're just continuing to clear the path without any kind of downtime. So, moving right along, we just jump on this boss, and as soon as the flame torch guy gets here, he just goes on about his business, moseys on through.
Yeah, us being able to start on that pull ahead of time helps a lot.
And yeah,
I like
ends
that,
up just, I like,
that way.
like we're talking about that in game, how I like that, and yeah, it just works out very smooth. So it's always nice. You got teammates that got things that do a little bit different way. Go ahead, give it a try. You just never know. You just might like it. So this next part, well, first we're gonna have to mow down this archer. But I throw my hatchet at him and I come hide behind this little wall, just to get him to come to us, so he doesn't run to those mobs in that hive behind him. Cause we just don't want to go and monkey around with extra mobs we don't need to. But this part right here is what I was talking about. You may want to do it just a little bit different than us. Most people, they're going to kill this archer boss, and then they're going to kill the soldier boss. They're going to grab the soldier's aggro, and they're going to drag him to the next respawn stone, and they'll kill him there. But anytime I get a team that's willing to stack them up, I love it. So save some time, just get down to business and get her done. But a lot of teams, they're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to kill them one at a time. So just keep that in mind when you're watching this video. How we do this part of it, it just might not be the way that's for you and your team. Because, obviously the soldier, he does lots of damage. This archer, he does lots of damage. So you stack them up, and they might wipe your team, and they just might cost you your gold run. So keep that in mind. This may not be the way for your team to do it. But run into a little situation here. I am maxed out on unique items that can fit in my backpack. So I start dumping some stuff out that's not important. Go in, gonna have to delete a few items as well. But kind of annoying, so that comes into the not being quite prepared enough before the run. Thought I was good because I got lots of room for more weight, but just ended up with too many items in my backpack.
Too many items, not too full of a bag.
So we waste like 20-30 seconds. Not the end of the world, since we are, we're getting her done. But if you did find yourself in a situation where that 20 seconds was going to cost you the run, well, you could just ditch the bag and go to the boss and hope that bag's still there when you come back. I don't know. Do these bags disappear after so long, or do they stay there forever until you either go back or leave the expedition? Don't know. Not too sure. It would be interesting to know, but at the end of the day, it didn't really cost us anything, but definitely keep that in mind. Trying to be the best prepared you can before the run. Sometimes it can be the difference in making or breaking a gold. So definitely don't want to lose gold because you ran into a loot problem. You got encumbered, or you had too many unique items, so you need to pick up your bag, but you gotta pause and clean out your bag. Definitely not the ideal place, middle of an M10 run, to be cleaning out your bag. But, end of the day, we got a strong team, so it works out just fine. So this boss, for me, is super basic. Once again, you might not be able to take the exact same approach as me, but for me, it's just take out my hatchet and hatchet away. So we got our ring with leeching, and obviously, by the time you hit M10, you understand his scream mechanic, where he goes up in the air, he comes and slams down on you with a heavy attack that hurts like crazy. So we're just hatcheting away. So you definitely got to start being careful when you are in this poison. And you can see there he does trigger off my death defy. So especially when you are at 200 con and not 300 con, you got that little bit better chance of him hitting your death defy. So once you do hit death defy, you're going to start wanting to be a little bit more careful. You might not want to just stand in the poison and DPS away him any longer. So,
were they? Not every time, but 25 to 30 minutes.
So yeah, feel free to be a little bit aggressive while you still got your death defy available, but once your death defy goes off, as a tank, you definitely want to be careful enough that you don't get killed. So And at this point, we're just going to be waiting for an extra player to be coming in, so just got to stay alive. We're going to try and keep this guy taunted. We're going to hit him with our shield rush, which adds some weaken to him, so if he does get some hits on me or my teammates, they're not really going to hurt us too bad. So we're just trying to keep his taunt. We're just doing a little slow DPS action, buying some time till the guy gets back inside the dungeon. Then we finish him off. So, as you can see, this run went pretty smoothly. So, any questions that you might have, there's definitely going to be a few places in here you're going to maybe do things just a little bit different than I did. You might not want to double stack up that archer and soldier boss, because they can take out a lot of teams. But anyways, we did get the easy gold, 67k points. We did end up with one respawn, 23 minutes, 37 seconds. So that's how this one went. I hope you enjoyed it and picked something up. Have a good one.